From ABC's Mr. Belvedere, please welcome Rob Stone.
Hey, Mike, great to be with you. Great to be with everybody. And as they say on the Blue Angels, like these guys behind me, ready launch.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Mike Grant Show. And today's special guest, he played Kevin Owens on the hit ABC series Mr. Belvedere. Please welcome Rob Stone. Hey Rob, how are you?
Good, Mike. Great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thanks for joining us here today. Now, Rob, you played Kevin Owens on Mr. Belvedere, as I mentioned. And I wanted to know, before we get right into Mr. Belvedere, I want to talk about a little bit earlier on in your career. How did you get started in acting?
Yeah, so I grew up in Dallas, Texas, and really got started in acting doing theater as a kid. Nobody in my family really had been an actor or anything like that, had anything to do with the entertainment industry, but they loved the arts, and they always took my sister and I to plays, and we always had music playing in the house, soundtracks, movies, everything. And, when I was about 13, I had a buddy of mine, one of my best friends at the time, who was taking these teen children's theater classes at a place called the Dallas Theater Center. And I went along with him, really just, because he said it was a lot of fun, said that there were railroad tracks in back of the theater. So if we got bored, we could go and play Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid on the railroad tracks and just, goof around. So, I honestly just kind of did it, just because I had a buddy who, said it was a lot of fun. I went and that's really where it started, and was asked during my first season there, my first season of classes really, to audition for a main stage production at this theater. And it was a world premiere of a play by a playwright named Preston Jones, who was a Tony Award winning playwright. And they were going to be doing this world premiere from Dallas. And I didn't know, anything about anything, but I auditioned, was lucky enough to get the part. And I think honestly that I got it probably less because of my talent, but more of my ability to just jump over a couch, because I was playing a thief and I was able to, kind of do some stunts and stuff. But really, that's what got things started. And I started going to the theater every night after school for rehearsals, and then doing the run, which ran over a month. And really got, kind of fell in love with the process, and just thought it was fun, never thinking that I would do it professionally at any time. And then just kind of kept up doing theater and community stuff, then high school productions, that kind of thing. And then, eventually auditioned and was accepted into the BFA acting program at USC. And that's what brought me out to the West Coast, and started getting some small TV and guest spots once I got out here. And then, eventually had this audition for this pilot. I had never auditioned for a pilot before, or knew what that was, other than a guy who flew an airplane. But it was the first pilot that I auditioned for was Belvedere, and that was when I was a junior at USC. And for those of you who don't know, a pilot is kind of the first episode of a series. And most pilots, they shoot the first episode. Most don't go past that stage. Most of them, out of 20 pilots, they may pick up, one or two or three that then go on to become series. So I really, with Belvedere, I really looked at it as a week's work, and I was glad to have a week of work as a college student. So lot of other things, in between there, but that's kind of the long story of how I got into acting.
So that's really lucky how your first pilot actually got picked up to a series, because many people don't have that.
No, it was off the charts, in terms of just very fortunate, very, very grateful. And it was, honestly, it was one of those situations where, ignorance was bliss, because I was definitely ignorant, when it came to a lot of things in the business. And I was from, Dallas. I didn't grow up in the business. A lot of people, because I was playing younger, they thought that I started, much like Bryce or Tracy, who played my little brother and little sister, who actually grew up, in the industry. My experience wasn't that, it was mostly training in the theater, but also, I was into sports, I was into skateboarding, so, and in some ways I think that helped once I, had the opportunity to kind of have some of these opportunities to, go to network and things. I didn't know what that was, which is kind of the final audition before a series goes. And so, I learned a lot very quickly, but I'm very well aware that was a very unusual and rare, occurrence, just to be able to, number one, get cast going for the first, regular series role that I went out for. Not to say that I didn't get a lot of rejection and turned down for many other roles in films and TV and so forth, but as a regular series role on a TV show, that was the first. So very, very fortunate.
And you did, before Mr. Belvedere, you did do a guest spot on The Facts of Life, correct?
I did. That was a lot of fun, actually. I think I was a freshman or a sophomore. And I will never forget, and the way that happened, just real quick for people that, for anyone who's interested, you may not be interested, is I was spotted in a play at USC that I was doing in USC. And that's where a manager and an agent had kind of seen me in this production. I had no idea they were in the audience or any of that. They contacted me. We met about representation. Again, stupid, ignorant kid from Texas, had no idea what any, I knew about agents and stuff, but I was very cautious. I was very wary, and just didn't know, but once I found out it was legit and safe and everything, then I got representation. They started sending me out. I got the role on Facts of Life, and it was a lot of fun. I remember driving into Universal Studios, and that's where it was, where we filmed it. And I had remembered being on my one and only time to California before going to school, coming out with my parents, as a kid, and we went to Disneyland and Universal Studios. So to be able to then drive on, and I was going to actually be working on the lot, and the people were great, and it was just a lot of fun. It was kind of a surreal experience. But again, the background and the theater training, I think really helped me out a lot. But it was a lot of fun. It was a very, very good group. They were very welcoming. Everybody was super nice.
And then when you were on Mr. Belvedere, let's tell everybody about Mr. Belvedere. So basically the plot of Mr. Belvedere, the premise is there was a housekeeper. He was an English housekeeper. He came to Pittsburgh and he got hired by the Owens family. So the Owens family consisted of the mom and dad, who were played by Bob Uecker and Eileen Graff. So George and Marcia. And basically they had 3 children in the house. Marcia was studying to become a lawyer, so she wasn't as home as much. And George was a sportscaster. So when you first read the pilot and that first day on set and you saw the script, like how was it? How did you like how the series was, written and how it was going to turn out to be? What were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it was, it was great. It was everybody was just super nice and very welcoming. I remember that from that first day. I remember, I mean, you can't forget Euchre when, you know, just him walking in a room, everything, the molecules, you know, just change, you know, once he walks in. And same with Christopher Hewitt, who played Mr. Belvedere. But Bob, you know, Bob is just hands down the funniest guy that I've ever met, but also just one of the nicest and just a, you know, a real wonderful human being. And he would blush or break my chops, you know, if he were here when I said that. But it's true, you know, he really is. He's just a class act. And then Christopher Hewitt, you know, the epitome of the English theater as a director, and had done played Captain Hook on Broadway with Sandy Duncan and had all this experience. So you would think the two of them together, kind of what they played up a little bit on the show, might not connect in real life. And in fact, the opposite was true. They were both really fascinated by each other in terms of, you know, Bob not only was doing our show, but he had been on The Tonight Show over 100 times, was one of the most frequent guests on Johnny Carson's Tonight Show when Johnny Carson was doing it. And also had done some other comedy and, you know, just a funny guy, but also was doing Brewer baseball as an announcer, which he had done ever, you know, since he stopped playing. He was a professional ball player in the front row, and done all the Miller Lite commercials that some people may remember, that are classics. So, you know, and then Chris, you know, came in and they just really hit it off, and they really loved each other. They really did. I mean, they just had a great relationship, and they would kind of, you know, joke with each other, but underneath everything was a really, really strong friendship. And then you know, you mentioned Eileen. She's just, you know, she's my LA mom. You know, I mean, I come from a very close, tight-knit family in Dallas, Texas, but to be able to be out in Los Angeles and have a family, and that's really what we were. I know it sounds really boring and cliche, but it's really true. And I think you saw some of the evidence of that when we were together at a recent event with everybody. But you know, it's just great to have had that LA family. And although I was in college, I was still, you know, it was great to have that support system. And Eileen is a wonderful, incredibly talented singer as well as actress. Tracy is awesome. We all keep in touch. I know we'll get to that, but and Bryce on the first day, and I kid you not, you know, I think he was 8 when I first met him on the first day. First thing he ever said to me when he came up to me at that table read you were asking about was, he said, "Hi, I'm Bryce, and I've always wanted a big brother, and now I'm so happy because I have one." And I was like, you know, I mean, you know, needless to say, from that moment on, we're brothers. I mean, you know, it was like, oh my gosh, you know, that was amazing. So to answer your question, and also the writers, the crew, everybody, you know, it was just a lot of fun. But again, just to keep this in perspective, I was happy to be working. I was happy to have a week's work. And I thought, if nothing else comes of this, this will be a really fun week. That's what I was thinking at that table read.
Yep, and it was definitely a great cast. So many memories with that cast, I'm sure that you had. And you also had a couple, you know, supporting cast members who were in and out throughout the seasons too, which viewers got to know, including the actresses who played Wendy and Angela as well. Can you tell us a little bit about them?
Oh yeah, yeah, they just great. I mean, we had so many great guest stars and recurring characters as well. And yeah, you mentioned Michelle Matheson. You know, she was the one who got Mr. Belvedere's name wrong all the time, Mr. Butterworth, and et cetera. Just a sweetheart, and was lucky enough to reconnect with her recently with the cast on some things. And yeah, it was just a lot of fun throughout. I mean, anytime she was on the show, she was one of the audience favorites. Every time she would mispronounce his name, you know, it was always a huge a huge laugh, and just a really nice person, just a really nice person. And same with Wendy. We just had so much fun. We would just laugh. And she had a improv background, may have done Second City in Chicago. I'm not sure about that, but I think that's true. And just a great girl.
And the character of Mr. Belvedere, he was basically like a mentor to the children, especially Wesley. And the dynamic between him and Wesley was pretty interesting, because even though Wesley was always kind of causing mischief and stuff like that, and you could see in the pilot how at the end, Mr. Belvedere, to prove that he should be the housekeeper and stay in the house and connected with you kids, he said, what Kevin was doing, what Heather was doing, but Wesley he kind of covered for, because Wesley had a hamster that he lost. And it was kind of funny. You can see already from the beginning how they were setting the tone of him looking out for Wesley. And even though, they were kind of, a little bit of mischief there and stuff, they truly deep down were best friends, if you really think about it in the series.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think that was true. Mr. Belvedere was kind of the protector of everybody, and everybody in that family were somewhat delinquents at different points in times, including the parents, that needed a little guidance from Mr. Belvedere. And I think that's something that, at least I hear it from a lot of people today who come up, and it was writing in the journal, at the end, which kind of gave a summation of whatever it was, and in a funny way, but it also touched on whatever theme that was, whether it was Wesley needing some guidance, whether it was, Kevin having, girlfriend problems, and just, or Heather having other things. It was a nice way to kind of tie things up. And I think that was a real strength of the show. I think the writing, we had great writers and producers, Jeff Stein, Frank Dungan, Tony Sheehan, and they really tried to make it real and hopefully universal and a little bit timeless as well, even though we all had really crazy hair a little bit in those days. But it was never meant to just be a message show. It was always, there was no doubt that we were there to provide entertainment and laughs, and also the ideas of family and friendship and those bonds. But whenever there was something, they always tried to kind of wrap that between a lot of laughs, and I think that was really smart, and why a lot of people really remember the show and resonate with the show.
Yep. And I mean, it hit on so many topics too that weren't normally talked about at the time. And yeah. Was there any specific scene between you and Mr. Belvedere, maybe, or you and your parents, that you thought were really good scenes that really, really shined and showed your acting chops?
Well, I'll let others decide about the acting chops, but as an actor, it was just really really wonderful to be able to play off of other people who give you so much. And by that I mean, when you're playing a scene with someone, and it's really it's a team sport, and everybody on the show is just so generous with that. And it wasn't like somebody was, if they were just on a close-up of me or Heather or Wesley or whatever, then the other actor would be off, and they'd have them read it with a stagehand or something. It was like you were always there to really support each other. That was super important. But honestly, a lot of it was okay. Either how am I going to get through this scene without cracking up and breaking, or how can I make my my little sister break up, so we, have to kind of do this again, but have fun with it. And, that's a partial joke, but the truth is we were really, we always wanted to be fun, and everybody was great to work with. I know with Bob, for instance, there were a couple of scenes that Kevin, a couple episodes were, they were pretty heavy, about the whole, like, was he putting too much pressure on Kevin to be a football star, when maybe that wasn't Kevin's deal, or the idea of the pressure that parents can sometimes put on their kids. And, we had a lot of really funny scenes that are some of my favorites. But I remember doing some of those heavier scenes with Bob, and Bob, who's not a trained actor, is really a great actor. I mean, he's a really good actor. He was, I just remember, he gave me so much to work with in those scenes that I really appreciate. And, but honestly, and Christopher was, he was a total pro, and everybody really, it was always fun for different reasons to play scenes or one-on-ones with people.
Yep. And the series, so it debuted in March of 1985, and it lasted for 6 years. But at one point, people may not know this, it actually was canceled and came back after the 3rd season. So can you tell us what happened there? What went on, and how did you manage to come back?
Yeah, that's a great question. And you're right. Not a lot of people know that, but we basically were told you're not coming back. And it was even before the days, at least that I'm aware of, where then people would do these writing campaigns or social media campaigns. Obviously it was before social media because we didn't have it. But so, I mean, we basically were told, okay, you guys are done. And yeah, that was kind of devastating news. But, at the same time, it was also, I remember I was off, I think I was in Kansas City. We were on hiatus. And I was doing a play in Kansas City. And, we got this news and everybody was devastated, but we also were like, okay, well, at least we're going to come back and have kind of a final, I don't know whether it was a final season or last 6 episodes, whatever it was. And so, yeah, but we thought it was done. And because of a number of factors that a lot I don't know about, but other than the fact that we were always an audience show, we were always, we weren't like at the time I'm thinking of like the Family Ties or the Moonlighting, was super, like that was like really popular but cool shows. People loved our show and we had a lot of support all across the board, but particularly from the people. And I think whether it was letter writing or whether it was things with their schedule, but then we were told that, we were coming back, and then we came back and our ratings were higher than they ever were. So it was really interesting. So yeah, we were kind of like the Phoenix rising, from the ashes and came back and did another, I don't know, 2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah, because I mean, you guys, I read you didn't make the top 30 in the ratings, but you guys almost always won your time slot. So it was a consistent performer. So there really was no reason to get rid of you guys. So I don't know what happened. Maybe there was, I don't know if a mid-season replacement came on or something, and they thought, oh, maybe we'll use this. And I don't know. I mean, these networks, sometimes the decisions are not always the best. But
that's yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was funny. We did a blooper reel at one. Actually, Tracy and I, who played Heather, we did a blooper reel. It may have been that season or maybe the season after that, and where we put a blooper reel together, but we also filmed some behind the scenes stuff, like where I took a camera around, and again, this was before iPhones, obviously, and there was probably a camera about this big, right? And we even went to Brandon Stoddard's office, who was head of the network at ABC at the time, and did a little bit about that. That Brandon was in on, basically where he forgot all about our show, didn't know who we were, called security to get us thrown out and stuff. But we talked about and acknowledged the fact that at one point we were touch and go there, and then we came back and actually it was a good thing for everybody, so it's fun.
And in your final season, season 6, they had moved you. You were normally on Friday nights. They moved you to Saturday nights that season, which also happened to actually be the season that they had TGIF for the very first time. So they moved you out over to Saturday nights. And then unfortunately, that was the last year. Mr. Belvedere got canceled and they aired the 2-part finale in the summer. But there were certain episodes that never actually aired on the network that eventually later aired in syndication. For a lot of fans who didn't know that.
Yeah, I forgot about that actually until you just said that. But yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. You have done your research.
Yep. So people who, go back and watch those episodes, all these episodes too, most of them are available right now on YouTube. And Mr. Belvedere has kind of been one of those shows that they're on one of those networks reruns and then goes away for a little bit and comes back. So right now, I don't think it's airing anywhere else besides on YouTube, but I'm sure maybe Antenna TV or Rewind TV that just launched or something. I'm sure Mr. Belvedere be able to catch it on one of these stations.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right. I never know. I've never really been aware over the years, although when we first wrapped, I know we were on syndication for several years after that. And then somebody said we were on Antenna TV or something else. But yeah, I'm usually the last to know, but yeah, let me know. Other than that, I know that, the DVDs are available at least up to a certain season. I guess Shout Factory did something and brought us all in for that. And yeah, I guess there's always YouTube.
Yep. And then you guys actually did, I didn't get to see this, but you guys did have a reunion through Zoom, correct? That I read about.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Basically what happened is, I want to say February 2020, so right before the pandemic, we had done something similar to when I saw you. And I had never done this before, but Tracy and some of the other cast said, hey, there's an opportunity to get the cast together, meet, some of the people that enjoyed our show. And it was in Burbank. And so I went down to that. And I got to tell you, I was really blown away by, first of all, that so many people remembered our show. We're talking about a show that it wasn't just, 2 years ago, it was, several years ago. And to have them come up, and people have said that over the years, but to see so many people that were really, said that our show really made a difference for them, that they really enjoy it, or they grew up on our show and it was their favorite show, or they loved it, or a certain episode really helped them in a certain way. It really was meaningful. It was really nice. Just that people appreciate your work, anytime, much less one that, something you did so long ago, but also that really meant a lot to me personally and to this group of people that, like I said, are like a family to me. And it was a really great experience. And then what happened is we were told, hey, we're going to be doing another one of these in New Jersey in 2020. And we'd like you all to do that. And so, we were like, okay, that sounds great. Fast forward to a month or so later and the pandemic hits and everybody's isolated. And we were going to be going out and we're scheduled to go on. Obviously that live show was canceled. And so live appearance. And so, yeah, honestly, I thought about it and I just thought, you know what, even though we're not able to do this, maybe there's a way we can do something positive out of this experience. And had the idea of, well, maybe if we do it as a fundraiser to raise funds for like the Actors Fund, which is what we ended up doing, and World Central Kitchen, which at the time, a lot of people were out of work that were, working in restaurants and so forth. That would be a cool way to maybe connect with people since we weren't able to be there in person. Again, thinking maybe 10 people would show up. I had no idea. And so I kind of I'm a Twitter guy. I don't do a lot of social media, but I'm Twitter. So anybody find me on Twitter, love to have you. But I put something out on Twitter about that possibility. We got a crazy response. And then I checked in with everybody. They obviously, you know, everybody in the cast, they were all for it. And we did this, you know, Zoom reunion, and it was great. It was fantastic. And Bob Euchre, you know, he participated, and he was great, and you know, got the technology and everything, because he sometimes was worried about that, and him and his wife Judy set that up, and we had everybody on. And the only other thing I'll say about that, and it was great, it was fantastic. It was people sent in questions, we answered it, and the only somewhat sad thing is Willie Garson was also part of that, and who has since passed. And Willie played my best friend on the show, and I had called up Willie, and we had remained friends over the years, and I would run into him at different things. I'm a tennis player. His son played tennis and stuff, plays tennis. And unfortunately, we lost Willie to an illness, but it was just so great to be able to have that opportunity to connect not only with, you know, my Belvedere family, but also with Willie, and have him hear how many people really loved him and his character, which was great.
And tell everybody what you're up to nowadays, because now you're directing, correct?
I am. So I was lucky enough to, you know, even back when I was doing the show, and from a young age, I had always had a fascination with filmmaking and, you know, how things work. And on my hiatuses from Belvedere, I would write and direct these short films. And then the next one would be a little bigger and bigger. And actually did one with Christopher Hewitt that we did, that was called The Sidewalk Motel. And when we did the show, when we finished out the show, like you referenced those final episodes, some of the final episodes, I was very fortunate. It was a very generous atmosphere behind the scenes at Mr. Belvedere 2. And they knew that I had an interest and passion for directing. They let me, you know, direct a couple of the episodes as well with Don Corvan, who was one of our directors, who was fantastic. And now I'm producing and directing mostly documentaries and specials that we've done for like A&E and the History Channel, Discovery, and so forth. And yeah, so really enjoying that. I've got an independent production company called Vienna Productions, and yeah, that's pretty much what we do. Was able to do a 2-hour special on the Blue Angels, the legendary flying team. And we're currently working on a new documentary on the Blue Angels. They just had their 75th anniversary. And I'm working with some amazingly talented people on that, including Glenn Powell, and also the only 3-time leader of the Blue Angels, a guy named Greg Wooldridge, who's unbelievable. Which will probably be out next year. And we're working on another project that has to do with climate change as well. So yeah, but my biggest productions are my 2 kids with my wife, Melissa, and we have two kids. And so between all that and the fact that I'm a pretty obsessive tennis player and fan, yeah, it's been a busy, but really fun time.
And one of the episodes that you did get to direct was the first part of the finale episode, which unfortunately Kevin wasn't, because you weren't in that actual episode, but well, there was a gorilla, and I have to ask.
I was gonna say, so
were you in the gorilla suit?
Okay, so this is how silly Hollywood is. I wanted to be in that gorilla suit. I actually wanted to be in the episode, but because of a number of union reasons, I was not able to be in the gorilla suit. So no, that was actually somebody else that was union certified, because I think they didn't want to have to pay me twice, one as a director and one as an actor. But that's Yeah, that's good. That's good trivia.
Okay.
Someday I will get a chance to be in a gorilla suit, I'm sure.
Okay, and now it's time to play the lightning round, where
Oh,
I'm going to name you two things and you tell me which one you prefer. So, do you prefer country life or city life?
boy, starting off with a tough one. Love them both for different reasons, but I'll go with city life.
Okay. Would you rather save your money or spend your money?
Save.
The Simpsons or South Park?
Simpsons.
Crazy like a fox or quiet like a church mouse?
Crazy like a fox, because it's the best. I like the title.
Jello or pudding?
Pudding.
Throwback Thursday or Flashback Friday?
I go with Flashback Friday because we were a Friday show.
Pizza or pasta?
Pasta. Love pasta.
Roller skates or skateboard?
Skateboards.
Netflix or Hulu?
Netflix.
Pinball machine or whack-a-mole?
Pinball. Pinball wizard.
Eggs, would you rather have them scrambled or sunny side up?
Always scrambled for me.
And what is the better superpower? To be able to freeze time or to fly?
Come on. I gotta go with flying.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thanks, Mike. Really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. What would you like to say to all the fans who are watching this right now?
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody, honestly, for just for watching, number one, and hopefully we've been able to add some humor and hopefully some of the family aspect of what we felt for each other came through, because it really was and is real, and hopefully that was felt by all of you. But just really want to thank everybody. Super grateful. So thanks a lot.
Yeah, it was definitely a fun show. I definitely recommend it, guys. If you've never heard of Mr. Belvedere or never saw it, or obviously you did watch and you want to go back and watch it, go back and watch it, because especially some of these classic shows from back in the day, when you haven't seen them after a while, to go back and watch is so much fun. You'll laugh so hard watching them. And can you let everybody know what your contact information is on Twitter?
Sure. It's at Rob Stone Tennis, I believe is it. Let me make sure of that, but I'm pretty sure that's it. You would probably know better than I would. That's how we kind of communicated.
Yes, I'll look it up right now, and it'll be right at the end of this broadcast too. I'm gonna have it on the screen for you guys.
Yep. Yeah, it should be at Rob Stone Twitter.
Yep, at Rob Stone Tennis.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it should be at Rob Stone Tennis. My DMs are open. I'm an open book, so please come and follow. So my kids will stop making so much fun of me. But yeah, love to hear from everybody.
Yep, and everybody be sure to follow me on social media as well. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube page, like the video, comment on the video, youtube.com/TheMikeGrand. My Instagram is at official Mike Grand, Facebook official Mike Grand. My website's MikeGrand.com, and my Twitter is at MikeGrandCom. So once again, thank you so much for joining us here today, and we will talk to you all soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thanks, Mike.